Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here with another Master Duel video for you guys. Today we are going to be covering our games for the Extra Zero Festival, or as many people are honestly very aptly referring to it as the Floowandereeze Festival. As the Extra Zero Festival, for those who are unaware, who I don't imagine are too many, as even at the time of recording this, we're a couple of days into the festival. The extra deck is not going to be used, so no extra deck cards. That does severely limit what decks can be played already in the format. That combined with the format's ban list really kind of pushes Floowandereeze as the most prominent deck to play for this format. This is the case generally for most of the festivals, where the festival itself is intended to push a pack or product. Either that or they make a pack or product for said festival. We saw that in the Synchro Festival, right? When the set with Baron de Fleur was released. That set had, you know, the Stardust cards as well as the Speedroid monsters, which were new cards released to the game. But, you know, clearly the Synchro Festival was purposefully, you know, came out around that time to push that product. We saw the same thing with the Fusion Festival as well, right? Although that time we saw a pack created specifically for the festival itself, made up of already existing cards. Now, I personally was not interested in that pack at all, and from what I could tell, it didn't seem like many people were either, so I'm guessing the pack didn't sell too well. And so I think that kind of is what brought us here to the Extra Zero Festival, and more particularly its ban list, right? Where we're seeing the ban list pretty clearly ignore Floowandereeze, but hit all of the other very prominent decks that do not use the extra deck. So it's pretty clearly intended to push the deck, which I'm not a huge fan of, to be totally honest. This is definitely one of those festivals I'm just honestly not a fan of, to be completely honest. I don't think I'm alone in that sentiment. I don't think that is too hot of a take, too controversial of a statement. But yeah, again, it was, and I did end up playing Floowandereeze, so I guess in that regard, I guess I did kind of end up conforming. But, you know, at the same time, it's like, what else were we really gonna do, you know? I'm actually still technically not done with the festival, but I'm definitely at a point where I'm just gonna wait for them to release the extra events like they always do halfway through the festival, and then I'll play the rest of the games. And honestly, as far as like the special summon and probably even destroy a monster quests, I don't see myself finishing those. I'm willing to miss out on, I think, a total of about 400 gems in order to just not have to play more games in this festival, which I mean is a pretty poor sign of I don't know. It's just not a good take, I don't think, or not a good look rather. But in any case, though, sorry to be such a Debbie Downer there at the beginning. I do have some games here with Floowandereeze, so those who are interested in the deck in general are definitely going to want to watch this. It's because it's not really the fault of the deck or the archetype, that it's Konami's fault for designing the ban list the way that they did, so in my opinion. So yeah, so this is a take on Floowandereeze that is specific to this festival. Because we do not have the extra deck here, we are not playing any Pot of Prosperity, which is actually a pretty huge hit to the deck. And I did think about including, and honestly, it's probably still even best to include, even outside of the festival. I don't know about best, but it's still good to include outside of the festival, 3 copies of Small World. So, well, actually I only have 2 right now because I haven't really used this card yet. But, you know, obviously it's super. Crafting a 3rd copy wouldn't be an issue. Yeah, Small World. So this card will add a lot of consistency to the deck. Basically, if you open this plus any little bird, you can get to Robina. The thing about Small World is that, like, you can already kind of do that with the map, which you can search with Terraforming. Now, that's not to say that there's no value in Small World, right? Because Small World is additional searches on top of the map and the Terraforming. I don't feel it's particularly necessary. I'm not going to say good. I'm not going to say it's not good, rather, because it is still good. But it's not necessary, definitely outside of the festival. In the festival, to be honest, I probably should have been playing some amount of Small Worlds during these games, as I did encounter quite a few bricked hands or hands that had pretty much all hand traps or disruptions. But I also wanted to build this deck in mind with the fact that a lot of other people are going to be playing Floowandereeze, and people are also going to be playing cards that counter Floowandereeze, as, you know, this is the kind of like the expected deck of this festival, right? So in that vein, we are playing not only 3 Infinite Impermanences, which we weren't in our like quote-unquote main build for the regular ladder, but we're also playing 2 Effect Failure on top of that. If I had a third, I would definitely be playing a third here as well. Not even just against Floowandereeze, but Monster Effect Negation is particularly good in this festival because there's no extra deck. The normal summon tends to, not is always, but tends to be a lot more important here. Again, not just in the case of Floowandereeze, but in other decks here too. So if you could stop that, or stop that initial combo line with an Imperm or a Effect Failure, then it's not too bad to just, or it's not too hard rather to shut down your opponent's whole turn just by doing that. So I feel, again, not only just against Floowandereeze, but against all other decks, that having, in this festival in particular, maxed out Imperms and Veilers is pretty important. I did look for other big winged beasts to potentially use alongside Empen. I was going to see if like maybe there's a cute tech choice that would be good against the mirror match. I didn't really see one that was better than, Mega Raiza or Apex Avian, so I just included those as well. The build is relatively standard, outside of not having an extra deck and Pot of Prosperity as a result, and also being a little bit tuned against the format. We're still playing 3 Book of Moon in order to, counter anyone who's going to try to Imperm or Veiler us, as well as the Crossout Designator as well. There were a couple of other cards I considered playing like maybe a single copy of in order to hit with Crossout Designator. One of them was Artifact Lancia, which I have seen a couple of times here in the festival. Being able to Crossout Designator and Artifact Lancia will ensure that you won't have to stop in the middle of your play. Because basically Artifact Lancia prevents you from banishing cards, so you can still do your plays like summon your Empen, but the problem is your Robina and Eglen aren't going to get banished, and that means they're not going to be able to come back, which means it's a pretty decent chance you won't have anything to summon off your Dream Town. And then Chalice was another card I was considering playing a copy of to maybe counter with Crossout Designator, but I haven't seen it at all. It does seem like a bit extra. I mean, Veiler and Imperm are obviously good because they're hand traps that can be used when going second. So I am not surprised to not see Forbidden Chalice, but yeah, I think we could definitely include an Artifact Lancia in this build. Like maybe take out one of the 2 Lightning Storms. We are playing both Feather Duster and 2 Lightning Storms here because there's also a really decent, not even really decent, I don't know, that phrase sounded kind of weird, but there's a decent amount of back row heavy decks rather, in this format, whether it's a burn deck, whether it's an Eldritch deck, whether it's some other kind of anti-meta deck. So having the means to board wide, particularly back rows, but in general, is pretty good. You could also do 1 Feather Duster, 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Raigeki if you wanted to, or again, the second Lightning Storm really is a bit of a flex spot. Like I was saying just now, you could also drop it for something like another tech choice, like I was thinking about dropping for Artifact Lancia, like I just said, to potentially counter with Crossout Designator, because I don't get Lancia a lot, but I think it happened 2 or 3 times, which I think is enough, given that I didn't play too many games. I think I played a total of about 20. That's enough Lancia's seen that I think it's worth slotting in to counter with the Crossout Designator, which again, Crossout Designator is another card that I don't believe we're playing at all in the main build, let alone 3 copies of. Maybe we're playing 2, I don't remember actually off the top of my head, but in any case, obviously very good against this festival, not only for countering the mirror match and being able to hit any Floowandereeze card, but also again for hitting Veilers, Imperms, other stuff that we could potentially be teching against as well. So, I mean, the build is relatively self-explanatory. It's Floowandereeze. It's just got a few tech choices for this festival. We did still get some pretty decent games, all things considered. So, not just mirror matches either. We played against a decent variety of decks, which we will take a look at the gameplay coming up here. But first, let's go ahead and break the list down card by card here. So we are playing 2 Effect Veiler, 3 Floowandereeze and Robina, 3 Floowandereeze and Eglen, 1 Floowandereeze and Stri, 1 Floowandereeze and Toccan, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Barrier Statue of the Storm, 1 Mist Valley Apex Avian, 1 Raiza the Mega Monarch, 1 Floowandereeze and Empen, 1 Harpie's Feather Duster, 1 Terraforming, 3 Pot of Duality, 2 Lightning Storm, 3 Floowandereeze and the Magnificent Map, 1 Floowandereeze and the Unexpected Winds, 3 Book of Moon, 2 Called by the Grave, 3 Crossout Designator, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and then finally 1 Floowandereeze and the Dreaming Town. I had no extra deck. It's weird. I was like, I felt like I'd stopped early, but then I realized, oh, it's because I don't have an extra deck to read off. So yeah, that's about all we got for the deck itself. Let's go ahead and take a look at some gameplay. Alright, so this game is going to be against the mirror match here. Opponent was also fairly teched out for the mirror match as well. They were playing Droll and Lockbird, which was another card that I had not considered earlier. Actually, very good tech choice, because is it a Wing Beast? If it's a Wing Beast, it can be searched by Robina if you're already holding an Eglen, so that's definitely not too bad. opponent's going to take the first turn here. We did at least open Valor, but they didn't really open much of anything, so that's definitely good for me here. This is kind of one of those games where both the opponent and I are struggling to find plays. This is definitely one of those games where I think Small World could have potentially helped. I think with Valor, because it only has to match one of the conditions, right? So having another level 1 monster in Valor would have allowed us to potentially play Small World if we had drawn it here. Now, to be fair, you know, what would we have taken out for Small World? Maybe like the Lightning Storms or something. So going by that logic of replacing Lightning Storm with Small World, we still didn't draw Small World here, but I'm definitely going to Ash the opponent's Duality so they can't find any plays here, and then we just draw into another Ash, so we're going to have to just pass back to the opponent. Opponent actually does play their Small World, so they were actually attacking. Did I just say they weren't? I don't know if I meant to say or imply that if I did, but I was wrong if that was the case. But opponent is playing their Small World. I'm going to Ash that as well, and then they're going to pass back to me here. Here we have a Robina. I'm going to go ahead and try to summon it in order to make some plays here. And it looks like the search is successful. I'm going to summon the Eglen next to try to get the Empen. At this point, the opponent's going Joel and Lockbird. It's a spellcaster, okay, so you can't search it. It's not a winged beast, but we do have the Call by the Grave. Joel and Lockbird, still good tech in this format, by the way, against not only against Floowandereeze, but a decent amount of stuff searches here. Anyway, though, we've got a Call by for the Joel and Lockbird, so no need to worry about that. We can just search our Empen and then continue our combo line here. Quote-unquote combo line. I mean, it's still Floowandereeze. It's not a very like intensive combo or anything. Now, as always, I'm going to leave the Robina banished in order to potentially chain block when I activate the Dreamtown during my opponent's turn here. Alright, so we'll smack him with the Empen. After that, we will play the Unexpected Winds and set and pass. So the Unexpected Winds, I don't know, actually, I'm pretty sure that does work with the Dreaming Town. I don't think I've actually done that interaction myself. I actually should have waited here now that I think about it. But, well, what I wanted to do is get the Apex Avian out to negate any kind of a play my opponent has, because I knew they had a dead hand. That's why I wanted to flip the Dreaming Town as soon as possible here. They did actually have the red reboots that is going to stop me from the older Dreaming Town. Looks like they top deck the evenly match as they move to battle phase here. I'll keep the Empen. Now, actually, I did misplay here because I did have the Crossout Designator face down. So it was a total misclick too, right? Like, I just saw that the prompt come out for Crossout Designator, and I was so used to just, you know, right-clicking through it that I just did it there again. But actually, when the evenly match was activated, I should have chained the Crossout Designator and called Robina. I even thought about calling Robina, even though my opponent had not yet technically shown me a Floowandereeze card. They showed me Duality and Small World, which is definitely more than enough of an indicator to indicate that they are playing Floowandereeze here. So, should have chained the Crossout Designator there. I've got a Valor, so it's not that big of a deal, but was definitely not the optimal line of play there. At that point, the opponent has to pass back to me because they don't have any other plays, which is definitely what we like to see here. Now I can just summon Eglen and get the Robina, and I mean, at this point, I've got more or less guaranteed lethal unless one of my opponent's 2 cards in hand is some kind of hand trap, but given that they weren't doing anything with them at any point up until now in the game, yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to do much, and they confirm that by conceding here. So yep, that is a pretty ideal way that we want the mirror match to go there. Well, I mean, obviously we could have done it without the first few turns of neither of us doing anything, but other than that, that was a pretty ideal way for their mirror match to go for us. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next game. Next game here is going to be against Machina, which does seem to be a fairly popular deck, relatively speaking, in this format. Obviously, Floowandereeze is probably still far and away the deck I've played against the most, but yeah, I've come across a couple of Machina builds, and Machina is a very solid contender for this format. Don't feel like you have to play Floowandereeze by any means here. So they're going to start off with the Machina Irradiator, and looks like that is all they've got, so they're just going to pass back to us here after pitching the Citadel. We did top deck the Robina because we're the luckiest player in the world, so and because we also have the Eglen in our hand, we can just search up the Stormwinds here. The barrier statue of the Stormwinds in order to summon it with the Empen at the end of our play here. So, of course, searching the Dreaming Town and bringing back the Eglen, not the Robina, again to continue, or rather to continue the opportunity to chain block into our opponent's next turn as we're chain blocking the Empen here. Excuse me. So, yep, I'll summon the barrier statue at the end. Like I mentioned, we were able to search that at the end with the Robina there. Now, my opponent imperms the barrier statue. Not really sure why here. I thought maybe they were going to try to summon like a Gorz or a Tragodia or something, but nothing of the sort ended up coming down from the opponent here. So, oh wow, that was it. Yep, so it looks like they conceded just after that, so that's all she wrote for that game. But I wanted to show that game still because it's a good example of showing not only a pretty regular, turn one line with Floowandereeze, but also, if you've already got the Eglen in hand, you don't need to get that with the Robina. So, just showing off that you can also finish with the barrier statue of the Stormwinds. I will say that, I kind of also had to keep this game because, as I kind of expected, like, a lot of people, as soon as you resolve a Floowandereeze card, they just kind of concede to you in this format, so, which is kind of a larger problem, I think, with Master Duel, but that's a topic for another video. So, in any case, let's go ahead and just get into the next duel here. Alright, so this game is going to be against Witchcrafters, which is actually another very good deck for this format, as it is a fairly powerful deck that does not need the extra deck to function at all. So we're once again going to take the first turn here. Now this is definitely like an ideal opening hand. Like if I could pick any 5 cards to open, I mean I might pick like maybe Crossout Designator instead of a Veiler or something, but other than that, no, this is definitely what we love to see. So we're going to Terraforming for the Magnificent Map here, throw that down, reveal the Robina. Since I've already even got the Eglen in hand, I don't have to banish that. I'll just banish the Unexpected Winds, because we could potentially add that with Toccan later if we need to. And since we are getting the since we already have the Eglen here, we can, like I mentioned in the last game, just add the barrier statue of the Stormwinds, and of course using the Empen to set up the Dreaming Town. Now here I added back Robina instead of Eglen. It really doesn't matter which one you leave banished, because as long as one is able to chain block, that's important. I know I said earlier that I was specifically leaving Robina banished. I just didn't mean to imply that it always had to be that one. It is still fine to leave just the Eglen banished there. So opponent is going to use their, or they're going to normal summon their Witchcrafter Shemitah. I can never pronounce this. One of those names I just can't pronounce. But I'll definitely respond with Floowandereeze in the, Magnificent Map, as that will save me a potential Dreamtown activation. Or if my opponent has Disruption, I can potentially use the Dreamtown as well as the map. Sure enough, my opponent does have Disruption here with the Witchcrafter Draping. But again, because I was specifically using the maps effect to try to bait out a response, I'm totally fine with this card getting bounced back and not resolving as a result. So no need to chain right here. I'm just going to go ahead and let the Magnificent Map come back to my hand. Opponent's going to battle after that, try to go over the barrier statue here. I thought this might be the case, as they might be trying to special summon like the Madame Vere or the Haine, I think is her name, the one that destroys stuff as a quick effect. But we've got the Book of Moon, which Book of Moon, I said this before in my other Floowandereeze video, but I'll definitely reiterate this point here, that Book of Moon is such an important tool against, not only in Floowandereeze as a means of protecting against Veiler and Imperm, but it's also a good disruption tool in and of itself. Not only being able to stop attacks, but also when you're playing in like regular mode where you have extra decks, you can flip stuff face down that will often prevent your opponent from being able to summon things from the extra deck. So yeah, here I go ahead and start into my Dreamtown plays, which the opponent realizes like, oh, they're just going to go for the Mega Raiza and then have lethal pretty easily, which would have in fact been the case there. So that is going to be all for that game. Let's go ahead and move into the next one. Alrighty, so this game is going to be against the Armed Samurai Benkai OTK, which I did actually consider maybe building for this festival, and maybe, I don't know, I thought about showing it off in a video, but I didn't think it would be very interesting to watch, to be totally honest. I mean, it's a fun gimmick deck, yeah, but at the same time, all you're doing is summoning the Benkai and throwing a bunch of equips on it, and then attacking for game. Like, I just didn't feel like it was too interesting, personally. So here we have another very, very solid opening line. We're able to Robina, Eglen, Empen, and then even throw on the barrier statue at the end. Always nice when you can throw on that barrier statue, because it really just means that your opponent's going to have, typically speaking, a much harder time making plays. I know we're in this festival that's like more or less the Floowandereeze festival, so it might seem a bit weird. Like, why would you feel like you need a barrier statue in this particular format? But I still really like having the option just to be able to shut stuff down, because like like we saw in this video, we played against Machina, we played against Witchcrafters. There are still enough decks out here that are shut down by the barrier statue that I think it's definitely worth playing. So yeah, I included this game because I don't think we've seen a Dreamtown line played out here. Oh, and the other reason I wanted to show this game was because this is definitely a good functionality of like the, it's not here during the replay, of course, but the on-off auto button that sits right here, and why it's a good idea to flip that to on and make a regular practice of looking for moments to flip it to on, because if you look here, yes, the opponent, activated Duality, and they revealed a Noble Arms, a Mataza. I figure they're the Bin-Kai deck at this point, and then also a Lightning Storm. I know this is definitely, this Lightning Storm. I know this is definitely bad news for me, regardless of whether it hits my back row or my monsters, and I definitely want to be able to do something about it. So as soon as the Duality revealed the Lightning Storm, what I did is this button here, I clicked it from auto to off and then to on, making sure that it was on. That's going to give me a prompt whenever possible to respond with a card or effect. And I wanted to add the Dreaming Town before my opponent had an opportunity to activate the Lightning Storm. So what I did was I flipped the thing to on, the button, and then upon resolution of the card getting added to my opponent's hand, then I was able to flip Dreaming Town. And I'm going to use that in order to summon my Apex Avian here in order to protect my resources so that my opponent doesn't get this Lightning Storm off. Especially knowing that they're a Bin-Kai OTK deck, I figure if I can stop this Lightning Storm, I can more than likely just stop this OTK if it's coming here. Opponent activates the Galaxy Cyclones to attempt to bait out the Apex Avian. I, of course, don't fall for that. They can just banish one of my back rows. That's fine. And then they concede as they realize that I'm able to just Apex Avian the Lightning Storm, and then they don't really have many plays after that. So that is all for that one. I've got one more game for us to watch. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. All right, final game of the video here is actually also going to be against a Bin-Kai Armed Samurai OTK deck. And we once again get to take the first turn here. Opening a map in a Robina, definitely not a bad sight to see. That is going to get us an Empen plus Barrier Statue and Dreaming Town here at the end. And of course, we're also able to chain block the Robina effect with the Eglen by banishing it with the map here as well. And then the map also gives you an extra normal summon. Not that you ever need it with this deck, which is one of the reasons why Snow, I never know how to pronounce that. The Owl isn't played because, like, its effects just really don't tend to be that relevant. Like, yeah, it gives you 3 extra normal summons, but in this deck, like, when would you ever need extra normal summons, The only scenario where you would need extra normal summons, I think, well, but no, even then, I was going to say if you had Barrier Statue at the end, but obviously Empen will just let you normal summon the Barrier Statue, so, yeah, I don't know. The card's definitely not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Of course, you can still play it in a Floowandereeze deck and still see plenty of success with that build, but it's definitely not needed. I don't think so. So, yeah, opponent Mage powers up my own Empen and then passes. Sends a bunch of stuff and passes. Now, we didn't see a game against one because I actually lost both games I played against it, but I did see a couple of burn decks while I was getting these games, and one of them I did get, I did lose to Magic Cylinder, so I was a bit weary here. I was like, the Mage power reads to me as Armed Samurai Bin-Kai, but what if this is a weird, like, strategy where they're about to flip Magic Cylinder and or Dimensional Wall against this Empen they've just buffed. So I did want to be a little bit cautious here, just err on the side of caution in general. So I'm going to start with the map. I'm going to banish the Unexpected Winds, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Robina to add Eglen, and then I'm going to add a Toccan with the Robina to basically get the Unexpected Winds back, sack one of my opponent's back rows for the Raiza to spin and bounce other back rows, and that way that should minimize any potential threats, because like this is also a mirror force. This is a festival rather where a mirror force is what I meant to say could come out very easily. So obviously not trying to get mirror forced if I can help it. So oh no, I don't use Rise, I use Apex Avian, that's right. Oh, and I didn't use the Unexpected Maps either. I definitely should have done that. Use the oh no, but I couldn't have, because then I wouldn't have been able to use it as a... No, I saw an extra normal summon, so I could have done it, actually. Okay, well, in any case, it doesn't really end up mattering here, as the opponent doesn't have anything... either if they had an answer, they couldn't get through Apex Avian, or they just didn't have an answer at all. I'm willing to bet it was the latter, but in either case, that is going to be the win for us. So that is all the gameplay I've got. Let's go ahead and go to the outro now. Okay, everybody, I want to thank you very much for watching this video all the way to the very end. That means a lot to me, not only personally, but also it also is a very good way to support the channel. Other excellent ways to support the channel, and also things that mean a lot to me, are those who are commenting and subscribing. Comments, I love to hear from you guys in general. And in this one, I kind of want to hear what you guys think about the festival. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what most people think about the festival, but Yeah, definitely chime in with your thoughts there, because like I said, I was not a huge fan of this one. I gotta be honest, I really wasn't. I think a good festival will allow you to explore a lot of deck building options, and this one, between the inherent nature of not having an extra deck and also the way the ban list was created, felt like the festival rules only served to limit options and didn't really open up anything new or fun. Like normal rare event, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again, normal rare event is still the best festival at this point that we've had yet. And at this stage, I would be fine with having normal rare event like literally every other month instead of another festival, to be totally honest. But I mean, that's not to say they can't come up with more good ones. You know, we did get leaks for like mono type, mono attributes, so that could yield some interesting results. But yeah, Extra Zero, I do not believe was one of those that yielded very interesting results. But yep, in any case, that's about all I got for you guys today with this one. So without further ado, this is XLex signing out. Hope you guys have a fantastic day.